Hi everybody, this is Marilyn, and I just wonder if we have any audio for this. Maybe we do? Yes, thank you. I've got there's a guy's building a carport out here just outside my sliding door. Is that tapping, is that driving anybody insane? Because I can just do this tomorrow. Yes, no? Now's the time to vote. Nope. Okay. Hopefully it's not, okay, good. It's not driving you nearly as nuts as it is me. Okay. Hello everybody, this is Marilyn, and it's time for the noon edition of Welcome to My World. This is the 20th of July, and it is a Wednesday. And we had crude oil inventory today. It's just about the only news that we had this morning, which is a little unusual. Anyway, the Monday and Tuesday was pretty much the norm of trading the indices or anything else, and I know it was incredibly boring, but it will be like that. That's going to be pretty much the normal day between now and Labor Day. And after Labor Day, then all the big boys come back from vacation and all this stuff, and the markets begin to get far more active. Today, even with this inventory in crude oil, it's been trading below 400,000 contracts, and that's pretty unusual. Usually it's around 5, and it can be 6 and above. So today we did see some movement in these indices. Finally, at long last, they seem to be pretty much in keeping with each other, except that NQ has been, in my view, it's the strongest of the 4 today. But they all have tended. NQ did not take the 30-minute down move between 9 and 9:30 that the others did, and it has been a really good trade today. Crude oil went down and hit a significant, its low of the day this morning was just a few ticks above a major magnet, which is sitting there at 44.50. If it goes on through 44.50, then it might take another pretty good tumble down to the 40-ish range. So let's see. Bonds kind of sold off today too, and that's typical. That in normal behavior, bonds will trade opposite to the indices. And one of these days, we're going to see these indices really sell off, and when we do, you'll notice that bonds will move up against that. Canadian dollar's been fairly strong this morning also, and we've seen Brent come up. It's trading about $1.50 difference on on the West Texas. So I want to just go over a couple things this morning. One is NQ chart. This is just a true thing of beauty, especially after some of the days we've had. This is this right here this morning after the open. I don't like to take these things right at the open, and I'm not too crazy about some of this stuff, but there's a pretty good magnet right here at 46.18 and a quarter to 46.19-ish right in here. I'd like to use these trend catcher markers. For some reason, they make sense to me. And when you get that plus an E plus an MVP all in the same place, what I didn't like about this was the time. It was just give it a little more time to get all the kinks out of the morning, especially after the days we've been having. But this thing it went on and on and on and really never weakened. This is a 10-tick chart, and you can see it did touch back a couple times, 3 times, 4 times to the EMA. And that can be a good place to add on to your position, particularly when it departed this half deviation. If you notice, if you're in this area and wondering if it's going to keep going and what your hints are, one thing you can pay attention to is to look at the next range channel box and see where that is relative to the current hour. And it will give you a clue as to what the expectation of the continuation of that trend is likely to be. So this was just a great trade, and if you notice, it kind of topped out right here at the top of this range channel. It went right into the next hour's one, but these, I find those boxes a significant part of it. They just make sense to me. They make sense to I guess how I see things. This morning, I remember last summer, there were some really nice trades on crude oil in the 7:30 to 9 o'clock-ish timeline. So I'm trying to get, I've noticed that I have a new internet provider. And so charts that used to load, my workspace would load in about, I don't know, 10 minutes maybe. With the old one, this is a much better provider because I have fiber optics now. But when I clear all cache, which I do every time before I shut down for the overnight, it's been taking this workspace about anywhere from 20 to sometimes 22, 23 minutes to load completely. But I'm trying to get an earlier start on this. And this, if you notice overnight, this is where the market changes overnight. This is midnight when you see the high and the low of the day make these dotted lines that are dashed or whatever they are that come together right here. This is midnight. So between midnight and I don't know, 6 o'clock this morning, this only moved 5 or 6 bars on the 12-tick diagnostic. That's really slow, very, very slow. But with an E, by the time I got this thing loaded and operational, it was about 8:30-ish. But with this E, the MVP, the red ice, the flip on this trend right here. I get some of these mixed up of trend flip or flip trend or whatever they are. But anyway, and the thing went through settlement. Settlement's a big deal. With a trend catcher right here, by the time I got around to it, it was kind of coming down through here. So I took it from the magnet. I would like to have been up and operational where I could have taken it earlier, but that's just the way it was. So my idea was I was going to take it from the magnet down to the next magnet. And it went on a little bit. And when I realized it was going to clear the deviation level, then I just pulled my stop right down on top of it and got stopped out a little bit below this deviation. But then what I did not like about taking this up is this volume. Volume just dropped off. It said, okay, I'm done. I'm not going to do this anymore. And we did have I really like these mountain trades because there's something else that just make a great deal of sense to me. But with this thing going down, I still, with no volume, I'm not real interested, especially at this time of year. At this time of year. So then at 10:30 we had the inventory report, which was very, very low. I'm sorry, the inventory report was very, very low. And that was the value from previous, but when that thing came out, it exceeded the expectation. It was higher than what they had planned. Well, still 2 minutes. I mean, I saw this and it's been jumping around in here. It's 2 minutes before or 2 minutes after the announcement. I'm not interested in 2 minutes. I want to see what's going to happen. And right in here, if you were watching this bar put a touchback on here. So I felt a little safer about taking this from this magnet right here. And from the magnet, then my idea was it would go on up to at least test the high of the day, which it did. So I got out up here at this, the red ice and the high of the day were the exact same thing. So that got 100 ticks, and that's fine. I'm good with that. So the other thing is, I hope I meant to mention this yesterday, but yesterday when the market is so darn slow, one of the things that I find very comforting is to go to the I use a 6 tick on crude oil, and then when the indices are so slow, you can frequently get 10, 12, 15 ticks off of these indices if you use a smaller size chart. And I don't advocate that you don't change and move over to that. If you're using the C system at 10 ticks, stay with that. But add a little small chart of another strategy. I use the IZSS on mine, and I have little small ones, and I have those set at half speed. So in other words, those are 5 tick. I think Lori might like 6 ticks a little better, but in my brain, half speed is easy for me to figure out. It's going half of what the so-called master chart for that that market is. That seems to help me, at least when the market is so slow, because it really does get boring. Just be sure you don't force trades. Get something in your head that, you know, well, I want to get this over with, and I want to get this trade, and I'm just going to get in here and I think it's going to go. No. Get a smaller tick size chart and look at that and see. And especially, I have the those institutional zones on those smaller charts too, and I find them with a gray background, they're easier to see. So Let's see. Tomorrow, I think we've got some more news. News we can use. The economic numbers. Oh yes, we have Philly Fed and unemployment tomorrow at 8:30. So be aware of that. And then on Friday, I think at 8:30, yeah, it's Canadian dollar news that'll affect the Canadian dollar. So I think that's about it. Lori, I hope, is going to open the conference room right now in a minute. I hope. Lori, are you going to do that? Yes, we have the conference room link. Oh, good. And just to keep everybody on the same page here with this VIX, it's below 12. It's trading 1163 right now, so it's kind of surprising to me that we got so much movement out of the Nasdaq. But then we did have this is a big earnings day. I think 111 companies announced their earnings or are scheduled to for this day. So the close